Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 4 of Eat With, the podcast where I take chefs and food personalities out to eat at their favourite places to talk food, to talk life, to talk nonsense. My guest today is somebody who has been on my podcast hit list since before there ever even was a podcast. She is so heavily awarded in the hospitality industry that I could literally spend half the episode reeling off some of those accolades. But just to cover a few, there is Restaurant of the Year, Restaurant Manager of the Year, Maitre d' of the Year. She's in the Gourmet Traveller Hall of Fame. She also won the Howard 12th Tree Award for her contributions to the gastronomic life in South Australia. Safe to say the woman is an absolute icon. So you should probably already know the name Sharon Romeo. Alongside her business partner, Chef David Swain, they are the co-owners of the Fino brand. So that's currently Fino at Seppeltsfield in the Barossa and Fino Vino in the city. They also began with the heavily awarded Fino at Wollonga, which, if you ask me and probably plenty of other people, is what put Wollonga on the map for the culinary scene down there. And it just continues to grow and grow thanks to those two, I think. These are all vastly different venues, but they have one shared ethos, which is to showcase the beauty of South Australian produce and to do so thoughtfully and creatively and in a really connected way. If you've ever been lucky enough to experience Sharon's warmth and hospitality, it's something you won't soon forget. I was so thankful that she agreed to get together with me today. So we went down to a tiny little spot in the Adelaide Central Markets to discuss a lifetime in the industry. Okay, all right. So, Sharon Romeo.
Hi, Hannah.
Welcome to Eat With the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out to eat with
Thanks
me.
for having me.
So, first premise of Eat With is you take me where you like to go to eat around the place.
Okay.
Where are we and why are we here?
This is a little hidden gem. Well, I don't think it's not so hidden. Doreen and Charles have been running Asian Gourmet for over 30 years in the Central Market. It's just my go-to.
Yeah.
And you'll see why. Beautiful comfort food, Malaysian cuisine.
Yeah. So we're going with laksa today.
We are today.
Is there any other option?
Probably many, yeah.
Do you ever bother with anything else?
No. I should explore more, but yeah, it's my go-to.
When it's good, it's good.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's that comforting feeling of having that same dish that makes you feel warm and,
Fuzzy.
feel good. Yeah.
Laksa is my go-to food if I'm feeling unwell or if I want, in the winter when I want comfort, laksa.
That's the comfort, the dish that takes you somewhere. It's really important.
Yeah. So, you have been on my Eat With hit list before Eat With was Eat With.
Wow.
I wrote together a list of people that I wanted to speak to in, particularly in South Australia, but beyond that. And you were on that list since the very start because...
Thank you, it's very flattering.
The experience that you have when you walk into one of your restaurants is out of this world, but what you would leave thinking about is the time that you spent with you. So I want everybody to be able to experience that. So tell us about what you do in hospitality. How would you describe what you do?
How would I describe what I do? I know that I look after people how I would like to be looked after, and I feel like I'm a storyteller. And when someone walks through my restaurant door, they're walking into my home. So for me, it's about feeling nurtured, respected, spoiled.
Yeah. Spoiled is definitely what I felt when I walked through the front door.
Yeah, and I think that's a really authentic experience, and it comes very naturally to me. My mother was the most amazing, generous host.
Yeah.
And I guess, I was cooking for my family when I was a teenager.
Italian family?
Yeah, Southern Italian. And so, it just comes really natural to me to look after people. I get so much joy.
Yeah. So you're a restaurant manager and restaurant owner.
Yes.
You've had 3 restaurants of your own.
I have, yes, but only 2 at a time.
Yeah, okay. So where did the restaurants begin for you?
So I met David Swain whilst we were both working at the Star of Greece around 2000.
Yeah, okay.
We got on famously well, and we talked about opening up a place one day. Anyway, fast forward to 2006. we opened, David found a spot in Wollonga, so which is about 6K south from McLaren Vale.
Yeah.
And it happened really quite quickly. But essentially, we opened a restaurant we wanted to eat at.
Yeah.
With uncompromising integrity, and we didn't conform to any trends or norms. It was just about us.
Yeah.
And I think when you have that kind of concept, it's very soulful, has a lot of substance, and very authentic. So yeah, we opened a little 60-seater venue.
Yeah, 60. Okay. I was going to ask you how many seats it was because I never made it there.
No, 30 in 30 hours. A beautiful 1800s cottage, Cornish cottage.
Yeah.
It was beautiful and very simple.
Oh, here we go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So, combination laksa.
Smell it, it's amazing.
Oh, yes. I'm going to make a mess. This one I'm going to make a mess of, and I'm probably going to make a mess of myself. But I did wear a dark colour today. I picked out a white shirt and then went, no, that's not going to work.
Not with laksa. So, I think so. Fino was born from two very like-minded people that just wanted to do what they wanted to do on our own terms. Very simple.
And you'd both been in the industry a very long time. I mean, David himself had been trained by some of the best of the best in Melbourne.
And Adelaide. He worked for Anne Oliver at Mistress Augustine's. He's a very thoughtful, considered chef.
Yeah, and yourself, you've been in hospitality since, I think I read 15. You started in hospitality?
Yeah, I was a dishy.
Yeah, as you do. You got to do these things.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. And
I love all aspects of hospitality.
Well, I was going to say, I'd read that you actually wanted to be a chef in the first instance, and some negative Nancy along the way tried to talk you out of it.
I just had a bit of a bad experience. I just had a bad experience with a chef. So I went back to uni. Went to uni, did a arts degree, which was, I majored in psychology and sociology, and paid for my degree by working because I didn't know what my Bachelor of Arts kind of just leads you to further employment or study. So I worked in hospitality to pay my HECS debt. Yeah. Fell in love.
Yeah. So psychology was what you...
was a major,
part of your study. Do you think that helps with your service now? Like, do you think you use that, or is it more of an innate thing?
No. It is about non-verbal communication and picking up on cues and people's behaviour and making them feel at ease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you can teach that?
I was asking that question, and someone I look up to said, yes, you can.
Okay, well, that's good.
But I think anticipating people's needs, it reassures them.
Yeah.
And that's a really wonderful thing.
Well, that's what you want to feel when you're in a dining environment, especially, of course there is high-end dining and that has a completely different feel to it.
For me, I just provide and love warm, welcoming service where you can build a rapport with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that we are losing that in hospitality?
I hope not.
Yeah, me too.
And I think, there are so many small businesses in Adelaide and in South Australia that, they're generally run by owner-operators where there is still that substance and soul in that business. Yeah. They're not like big groups. Not a lot of big groups.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that was always touted about Fino Wollonga, was that it was very personable, it was very intimate, and it only took you, I'm sure it felt like a long 2 years, but it only took you 2 years to win Restaurant of the Year down there?
Yeah, 2008.
That's pretty impressive.
I know, we were really surprised.
In a tiny spot where we're talking about places that South Australia wasn't as on the map then as it is now.
I think we not always, but there were moments when we felt a little bit misunderstood about what we were doing because we weren't for everybody.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned being in business is you can't be everything to everybody. Just do what you do what you love, do what you do well with integrity, don't compromise, and I think that's the key to success.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like.
Yeah. And you had Fino Wollonga then for how many, was it 10 years?
Yes, 9 years, sorry.
9
Opened
years.
in 2006 and closed in 16, 10 years.
Yeah, okay. And so during that time, Warren Randall from Seppeltsfield approaches you. Now, I hear he was a larger-than-life...
He still is.
Still a larger-than-life personality.
He was one of our regulars.
Yeah. Did he live down that way?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, right.
Warren would pull up, always late, and I would pour him a glass of sherry, Manzanilla, and I would take it out to his car while he was finishing his phone calls.
Yep, okay.
Warren invited us to be the destination restaurant for the redevelopment of Seppeltsfield for, I think it took us about 3 years to say yes.
Well, he hadn't always had it, had he? He bought into it. He was a bulk winemaker.
Yes, he bought Janet Holmes a Court's share.
Yeah, okay.
But the man has vision.
Yeah. Well,
And-
we'll get on to what you're doing toward the future, yeah.
So I think logistically, because David and I both live on the Fleurieu Peninsula, we didn't know how we could make it work. But we did say yes.
Yeah,
And
3 years in.
3 years in, and we opened in November 2014. So we will be 10 years old this year.
Oh, there you go.
I know.
A decade. And what was that like for you? Because Fino Wollonga, super intimate, tiny, local producers that you had gotten to know over the years, and then you go to a 150-person, is it, restaurant?
Yep, 140.
Which
seats.
had never had a restaurant before.
No, we were the first restaurant.
Yeah.
We were so welcomed into the community.
Yeah, that's good.
Incredibly. They were so welcoming. They still are.
I think that's
It's
just
a wonderful
regional people.
region.
Like, people are just like that out
Yeah.
in the more regional areas.
Yeah.
Community-driven.
Pretty hectic to start with.
Yeah.
I decided to move part-time to the Barossa. So I stayed there 4 nights and came back home for 3 nights for about 3.5 years.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, pretty disruptive.
Yeah, I was going to say, how was that for your family? Like, your
my partner.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty tough. A couple of parents died in the middle too, so
just the toughest of the tough. But
yeah, a bit of a kind of fog, to be honest, if I'm looking back at it now.
yeah.
Very stressful. Amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
And an amazing place and a wonderful venue.
And it's paid off, you know.
Yeah.
It's still an incredible venue to go to.
And we tell that regional story on our terms.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
Still.
how did you manage that? You know, it's such a big beast.
It was a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got lots of tourists coming to that area, which is somewhat of a different market than people coming for a local experience.
We still get locals. We still get locals from the Barossa and from South Australia. But yes, we do serve a lot. We do host a lot of guests.
Yeah.
But you could be anywhere in the world there.
Yeah.
It's stunning.
And how did you go about designing a menu and a wine? Well, yeah, I suppose backtrack. You've won Wine List of the Year several times.
Yes.
On a tiny wine
Yes.
list. Not a trained sommelier.
No.
But just passionate. And I suppose you would have grown that over time as well, being in the regions with the winemakers.
Yeah.
With Seppeltsfield being its own winery, how did you structure that there?
Well, so when our initial conversations with Warren, it was never just to be a Seppeltsfield wine list.
Yeah, cool.
Because we're an independent venue, and that was never.
Okay, that's really good.
It would have been tough.
Yeah.
Just to have one venues or one winery's wines. It's a very unique restaurant set up within a winery. Most wineries own the restaurant, so this is independently owned. And I think he really encouraged us having our own voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you enjoying your laksa?
I am enjoying my laksa. I keep hitting the chili though, and I'm like,
it's
oh.
pretty good stuff.
I've said several times on this podcast, I'm always trying to not slurp and snot over the bowl, but we seem to be going. Yeah, those seem to be the places that we want to go.
Yeah.
And I can't say no to the chili. I've got to make sure that it's in there. Otherwise, what's the
delicious.
point? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So 150-person venue, separately owned, and you're doing part-time. There. Part-time.
Yep. I do about 2 days.
Yeah. And was that all the days that you were open? You were open 4 days and you were there?
No, we were always a 7-day business.
Oh, Jesus.
You have to be.
Yeah. Well, you're doing
But we have an incredibly skilled management team.
Yeah, and a head chef.
David Murphy, yep.
Yeah, separate to David.
Yes. We could call David the executive chef that oversees both, but
Yeah.
We've just been working in Fino Vino since COVID, or since we opened, because...
Yeah, so you you opened a restaurant...
There's too much trauma around that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you couldn't have timed it more inconveniently for yourself.
I know,
So
bit of bad timing, but we're still there.
Went from regional restaurants, went from tiny regional restaurant to a huge regional restaurant to an somewhat intimate city venue.
I'd say it's pretty intimate.
Yeah. How do you feel about taking all of that very personalised experience and taking it to the city? Does it translate for you with your producers and with your customers?
We're still working that out.
Yeah, okay.
We're not bound by the regions like we were at Fino on the Fleurieu Peninsula or Fino at Seppeltsfield with the Barossa Valley region. Mm-hmm. We're still a produce-driven restaurant, but we can take from more different regions.
That's exciting, though.
Yeah.
That means you can have a little bit of fun with it all.
And I guess we're still working out Adelaide clientele as well, because we're so used to regional restaurants. We're so used to being a destination restaurant.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And do you have regulars there as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that's excellent that people are forming that.
Yeah. We see a lot of business, locals, in-staters, tourists, mixed bag.
So, you opened in December 2019.
Yes, and closed the doors 3 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long were you closed? Like, what did you do? Yeah. How long did you close for? Because South Australia was so weird in the way that we approached.
Yeah, so there were lots of rolling closures, but I think most venues reopened around, was it April?
I'm not
It's
even
a fog to me.
Yeah.
A lot of trauma.
Yeah. And did you have to, because you are a smaller restaurant, did you have to edit your seating and the amount of guests you could have?
Yes, we did. Yep, social distancing. We let all the team go that were initially employed, so we had to basically reset.
Yeah. And you wouldn't have been open long enough to be on JobKeeper?
Yes, we were.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. No, I can't remember. No, we weren't. No, because it was 3 months trade.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's incredible for...
Yeah, really tough.
To say that you did that and still managed to create a thriving space.
Yeah, you need resilience.
Yeah.
And support.
Yeah.
To support each other in those tough times. And there were so many unknowns.
Yeah.
So many unknowns.
I suppose the only benefit, though, was that everyone was in the same unknown boat. Like, nobody really understood where this thing was going to take us, how we were going to get by.
But we weren't really open long enough to have those, regular support. We had regulars over the years. Mm-hmm. And yes, they did dig deep.
Yeah. Did you do anything takeaway-wise with Fino Vino?
Yes, we did.
Yeah?
On our terms.
Yeah, okay. How did that look? What did that look like?
What did that look like?
It's so funny, isn't it? Like, I was thinking back on COVID to ask you about that because of the timing. And I was like, honestly, that whole time is so bizarre. Like,
I reckon we did, pies and sides and, comfort food on our terms.
Yeah, definitely luxury. Like, what you provide is very down-to-earth food and don't mess with it too much and really let the produce sing and that sort of thing. But it is still high-end. Like, it is still really a premium level.
See, we don't think we are.
Oh, really?
We think we're really accessible, but we were talking about this the other day, are are we perceived as formal when David and I actually don't think we are? But is it because we just do things well?
Yeah, I think that's
know.
what it is. I think the level of service you provide when you come in, and the taste of the food,
Yep.
like the flavour profiles, and you use really interesting ingredients too, which I think people find high end. You know, even if they are the stranger cuts of meat or the
Okay.
And I think that
Good to know.
that really makes the experience, you know, like you have that high level of experience when you walk through the front door. So it feels like a higher level restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it is homely because of the way you feel after the experience.
Yeah.
But I don't think my mum would be cooking any of those dishes.
No.
Actually, here's a
Neither
question.
does my mother.
Right, okay. Well, here's a question I was going to ask you, because I was pondering on this the other day, probably after a few wines. Do you think all Italian nonnas are good cooks, or is that just the myth that we're putting out there? Because people talk about...
I think they are.
Okay. Because people talk about little British nanas being amazing bakers, right? That they can all make a cake. Well, both of my British nanas, you don't want them anywhere near your kitchen. And I thought, I wonder if it's the same with Italians. Like,
well, I haven't had a bad homemade pasta dish from any Italian nonna or matriarch ever.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's
and
good
I
to know.
think Italian cooking is, and pasta, you know, my mother doesn't show me about weighing flour. It's this much, so it's about feeling.
But I also think that makes an effect with your cooking as well. You can follow a recipe to the T and get it wrong because the pans are different, or you haven't quite measured it the same, or, you know, the temperature in the room is different. And that makes
totally.
And I think that is one thing that you definitely feel with Italian dining is that it's all done by feel, it's all done by emotion, it's all done by experience as opposed to...
I love that too.
Yeah. That is something
that's something that you learn. You know, I learned as a young teenager.
But I think you've managed to translate that into your restaurants now in a really interesting way in that, like, in the 90s when you would have started, you know, serving people, we had a lot of Italian cafes in Adelaide.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, we did.
And the quality...
It was generic.
Yeah, it was. And I think it was cookie cutter. And you still managed to take the essence of the good stuff of that and bring it to a modern market where people still want to dine there.
So when we first opened Fino, my late father, Rocco, would be so proud to show David how we pickled, cured. And, Dad would make massive jars of giardiniera that we still serve today in honour of Dad.
Oh, brilliant.
But it was that beautiful relationship that was building between David and Dad about just preserving my culture, and David taking parts of that and refining it a bit to the public.
Yeah, David's wife's Italian as well.
Sarah has a little bit of Italian in her.
Yeah, it feels like very family oriented, all of what you do.
But I think it's not Italian.
I read that your dad made the furniture or did the cabinetry in the first restaurant.
Yes, he did.
As well. That is wild.
Yeah. He also, Dave, the first couple of months, David was cooking off a 44-gallon drum. And Dad just got an angle grinder and cut that 44-gallon drum in half on the back lawn. No safety wear.
Yeah, of course not.
No,
and
David,
thongs.
yeah, probably.
Yeah,
so, beautiful memories.
Yeah, and to be part of the whole experience. Was he there often? Like, was he sat in?
No, he wasn't there often, but no.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, he certainly was. Yeah, he made all the furniture and.
Oh, part of it all. That's so nice. So I guess we can touch on one or two of the accolades over the course of time. Is there one that stands out to you? I mean, you are potentially, I was trying to work it out, one of the most awarded front of house staff that we currently have in Australia, and particularly for women as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
They're all being amazing to be noticed, or what's the word I want to use? Just the notion of receiving an award is noted.
Yeah.
So look, one doesn't stand out more than the other, but when awards are given on service and hospitality, yay, kudos.
Yeah.
That we are being acknowledged.
Yeah, exactly, because it is often the food or the chef that gets acknowledged.
Yeah, but I fought really hard with the media to put my hand up to acknowledge that it's not just about the food, it is about the experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And who delivers that experience.
Yeah.
You know, we are the conduit between the guest and the kitchen, and it is, you know, we are the storytellers.
Yeah.
And it's about the attention to detail and the intuitive service of anticipating people's needs. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
And it should be acknowledged.
It should, because I know that there's plenty of restaurants that I've been to where the food has been fantastic, but if the service is not there, I'm not going back.
No.
Because you want to feel comfortable when you're spending your money, when you could be dining at home.
Or you could be elsewhere.
Yeah, or any other place. You know, we are very fortunate in South Australia that we have lots of very nice restaurants. Well, Australia as a whole. Let's not even minimise it to just South Australia. We have beautiful restaurants here. The difference in the experience that you're providing is what makes people come back.
Yeah.
And
you know, it's weird, but every award has surprised me.
Yeah.
Yep. Every single one.
So was the first one the Gourmet Traveller Small Wine List Award? Oh, Restaurant of the Year.
Restaurant of the Year. Then there was the Small Wine List and the Hall of Fame. So it was 4 years, I think.
It's pretty incredible.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I never, And I guess for me, just learning about just building my confidence in business and in myself too.
Yeah. Well,
it may appear.
No. You do a very good job of it if you're not feeling confident.
I'm more confident now of who I am, but
so that kind of leads me to Tasting Australia. You're an ambassador for Tasting Australia before. You're now doing a lot of events with Tasting Australia.
I was an ambassador, I think, when was that? Maybe 18, 17?
Yeah,
18?
I think that's what I had.
In the Barossa. We had, Mark and Pierre White did an event.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about
It was frightening,
Yeah, terrifying. Well, not only because he's twice your size. Like,
he's very tall.
A very tall man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it was an amazing experience.
Was he as much of a beast and then a teddy bear as...
I didn't get too close to him.
Gotcha,
but
okay.
Darling Jocks on Frillo was taking really good care of him.
Yes, well, they had a pretty good relationship from memory, but yes, I wondered what he was like.
Yeah.
I once bid on a private dining experience with him. Actually, it was during the bushfires. He said that he would do a private dining experience during the bushfires, and we were at a...
Where was this?
It was a essay for essay bushfire appeal that we were doing fundraising for just before COVID hit. So it was like literally mid-January that he said he was going to do it. We did not win that bid. As you can imagine, that went for some money.
I bet it did.
But I'm not sure whether those people ever would have gotten that because then COVID happened. So, and I don't know that he's been back to Australia. Yeah.
But I've always loved Tasting Australia.
Yeah, it is an incredible event that we get to have here. Like, I'm so excited for this.
And it's great that, you know, I'm part of the industry day, so that's really great that Miriam Banjo are just bringing in more front of house.
Yeah.
And to host events is great too. Sorry, it's the chili.
Do you think with the industry day, how do you think people are finding their work in the industry now? Obviously, you are very established, but we've got...
I think it's pretty tough for some.
Yeah, staff shortages.
And I think I'm on a panel that's talking about emotional sustainability.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And where do you think we're going to go with that? You know, we're in a very challenging time for the hospitality industry at the moment. I've had other guests say that they think that this time is more challenging than COVID was because...
No, I can tell you it is.
Yeah? You're having
Absolutely.
that same experience?
Yep. Sure am.
Is that staffing? Is that costing? Is that...
It's all costings, interest rates, 12 in a row. I think people are struggling.
Yeah.
And I think it could be the casual staff member that's struggling at uni or for hours, and there's a lot of pressure for everyone. Everyone's feeling a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And I think myself as an owner, I have a responsibility for the health and safety of my team.
Yeah.
And providing them with a really safe place and a happy place.
Yeah, exactly. A bit more of a haven for them to come to sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you...
and at
how
the
do
same
you do
time,
that? How do you do
yeah,
that?
well, I don't know. It's tough sometimes because, you know, I know my responsibility as an owner, and then I have of looking after my staff, surviving, paying bills, getting on top of that, making sure the customer doesn't feel like I'm stressed when they walk in.
Yeah. Yeah, because that all translates out.
So I don't know how I do it. I think I do it.
You do
Sometimes I think I do it better on other days.
Yeah.
I am only human.
You are?
Yeah.
How many staff do you have now?
At Vino.
Both.
I think I would have about 20 staff at Fino, Seppeltsfield.
Yeah, okay.
And we've got about 10 or so in the city at Fino.
Fantastic.
So...
A lot of people to manage, a lot of emotions.
Yeah, but I also pay people to manage people too, because, you know, that you've got to, you know, have to give them autonomy and give them a sense of ownership.
Yeah, but you also
so that
have
they
to
can
have
fly.
Your life too, you know, how are you...
I'm getting there this year. So in the first time I'm making a conscious effort to work differently. So it's a new kind of era for me. I'm excited.
Look at the growth.
I'm nervous. I've got to trust in people. And not everyone is going to do or look after people like me, but I have to have some trust in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And trust that you train people well, that you hire the right people and that you train them to your standard and that they will work to that standard.
That's the idea.
Yeah. And does that mean that you'll be taking more personal time?
I'd like to.
Yeah. Being on the floor a little less?
Yeah, my body's telling me to.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Yes, well, you told me on the phone the other day, sporting injury except no sport.
Yeah. So, I just have to kind of...
taper it back.
I get to know myself again in a different way because I have been consumed by work.
And you've also never known anything different, so having the space and time to find that out will be a fun adventure.
Yeah, and maybe eat out more.
Yeah. Or spend time with your partner.
With her.
She seems like a nice lady.
She's put up with me, for sure.
Yeah, brilliant. So what, is there future plans to keep things how it is, or is there future plans for more restaurants, or are you happy as you are?
Not at the moment. I would like to just build on Fino in the city, to be honest. Seppeltsfield is great. It's in a really mature, comfortable spot.
Yeah.
I just want to focus on driving business into the city.
So I heard a while ago that Seppeltsfield, we kind of touched on it before, the future vision.
Oh, yeah.
They're bringing a hotel, right? Will you be involved in that in any way?
No.
So Vino won't provide the food?
No, they'll have
Obviously
their
the
own.
guests can come.
I think because it's a 6-star accommodation, they have to have a fine dining restaurant.
Oh, right, okay, cool.
However, I welcome another hotel accommodation and on-site.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, well, without trying to sound too, I don't know, whatever.
What's that?
If people come and dine at Fino, then they can have more to drink if there's a hotel on site.
Exactly.
Might make for a different dining experience.
There are lots of long lunches there.
Yeah. Well, but then you've got to that's the thing I find with the Barossa. I could long lunch there till the cows come home, but trying to find a taxi to get you from there.
No, taxi services are great.
Are they?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
there
it
are
has
a
been
couple
a while.
of companies. Yeah, it has been a while. No.
Yeah.
They're really amazing.
Good. All right. Well, I need to come back down.
Yeah, you do.
Because I have eaten from your kitchen at Fino Seppeltsfield, but I didn't dine in the restaurant. I was there for a corporate thing. So,
it's beautiful in autumn.
Wow,
It
perfect
is
timing.
absolutely stunning in autumn, as is the produce.
Yeah. It's, are you missing any of that produce stuff? Do you use the same suppliers come into the city? Okay, yeah. And you're still living in
Port Wollonga?
Port Wollonga. So when you're doing those Barossa days...
Yep, so it's about an hour and 3/4 to get there.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah.
Hopefully not that South Road traffic bothering you.
Yeah, it has always.
Oh my God.
I've changed my mindset though. Yeah.
It's just more time to yourself?
Well, no, just to not be in a hurry, not speed, just, take it.
Yeah.
Listen to lots of news, that slows me down.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's true.
Well, I recommend listening to a podcast.
Or a podcast, sorry. Like this one.
I actually do that, though. If I've got a long drive or I've got traffic, I'm like, it's just more time for me to enjoy, something like that in the car and just try and switch off.
And I catch up and talk to lots of people.
Yeah,
so, it's good.
yeah. There was one thing that I feel like we've covered most of that on the...
What's that?
Intuitive service and that sort of thing. But speaking of the most intuitive service that I can imagine, I read that when you opened Fino Wollonga, you decided to do it without a menu.
Yes, we did, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now,
not for long.
In this day and age, I can actually appreciate that. I am that sort of diner that I can walk in there and be like, I trust you, do whatever you want. But this was...
No, it didn't go... Yeah, no. We scrapped that quickly.
Do you think that it can be done now?
I think, and I know, it can be done once you've gained trust.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it was maybe a little arrogant to just assume that they knew that what they were going to get, they were going to like when they didn't really know us.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that arrogant's the word. I suppose confident, yeah.
Okay, well, overconfident.
Yeah.
However, a lot of regulars won't even want to look at a menu when they come to Fino and just say, Sharon, just whatever you think.
Yeah.
And I'll talk them through. And this is, again, it's about, this intuitive service or attentive services. A lot of it's about communicating, talking to guests, making sure you're not going to give them something they don't want. So you're just talking about a few dishes. Do they have a large, a big lunch? What are they, so you can gauge what they want. So you're going to make them happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Serve them well.
And you over-deliver.
Yeah. Well, I do think that these days, you go to events, Tasting Australia being perhaps one example where you go because you know the chef or the restaurant that's putting it on, but you don't have control of that menu often. So people do trust, as long as they trust, that they can walk in and they will enjoy what they eat.
At Fino Seppeltsfield, on the weekends we have a set shared menu.
Yeah.
But we look after anyone with any dietary allergies.
Yeah.
So everyone is taken care of.
I have the most frustrating group of friends on that front. I love a shared menu. I love dining that way. I love saying to them, bring me whatever. I am gluten-free, which is a pain.
Nah, it's easy.
But in Australia, I don't think it's a problem. No. But yeah, we've got a friend who's got one that won't eat pork, one that won't eat beef, one that's got a shellfish allergy, and then me with the gluten-free. When we go out to dine, I just feel like going into the kitchen and apologising profusely.
No, we look after people. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
I feel like that is one thing that we have in the Australian dining scene, that we cater to everyone. I do a lot of travel, and overseas, it's just not the same. They just say no. Whereas we do that here, and I think
you will lose customers if you do say no. And that's the thing, you have to cater for them. But yeah.
What's the weirdest allergy or requirement?
I had one today, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Allergic to orange and mandarin.
Wow.
First time ever.
Yeah, that is an odd one.
Yeah.
Specifically orange and mandarin?
Yes, specific.
Well, I mean, I've touched on this before on the podcast, but one in my life is allergic to eggplant, which I thought was a hilarious joke at the start. Not so funny when everybody wants to put eggplant on the menu now, but it's a serious allergy.
It is really.
Just that one thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's weird, isn't it?
All right. Time to fire on the fast five.
All right, go.
Number one, what do you cook when no one's watching? Because I know that you can cook.
When no one's watching, my go-to is I don't know what to call it. It's not one word.
Yeah.
But my father used to cook this really rustic potato and egg dish.
Yeah?
Yep. Diced potatoes in a pan with olive oil until they're crispy. And then you fold in some whisked eggs, parsley. That's it.
Wow.
Love it.
Quality of the produce, things there.
Oh, just comfort.
Yeah.
And a memory of Dad.
Yeah. Huevos rotolo in Spanish, but
Probably.
obviously Italian.
It's not a frittata and it's not a tortilla.
Yeah. What's your go-to cookbook? Do you have one?
Do I have one? Yeah. One of them is Stephanie Alexander.
Yeah.
The Cook's Companion, is it?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Or if I'm wanting a recipe techniques, Nagi.
Yep.
Love her.
I love her too.
Yep.
We do, my friends and I have a cookbook club. So instead of reading a book, we all get the same cookbook and then we get together and have a dinner party, and she was our last cookbook club.
Oh, what a great idea.
Yeah.
Her recipes really work.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
So thank you, Nagi.
We'll tell her about that.
Yeah.
What's the most overrated dish or ingredient on menus right now?
Kingfish.
Not the first person to say that. There we go. What was the first dish you learned how to cook?
Pasta sauce, ragu.
Yeah. Tomato-y, well, no,
Yeah.
proper ragu's not tomato-y.
No,
is it?
so a classic, authentic calabrese tomato sauce.
Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, I wish I had that in
So
my
yeah,
life.
like a ragu.
Yeah. And who's been the most influential chef in your life?
David.
Yeah. Beautiful, long friendship.
Yeah, long partnership.
Yeah.
And I think he is very thoughtful, considered. He has a very thoughtful, considered approach to food.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, Sharon Romeo.
Is that it?
Thank you for coming out to eat with me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
And now we get to finish our
Yeah, we
food.
get to finish.
That was a delicious dive into Sharon's world. As you can tell, she is so passionate about what she does and about the experience she provides for people. But I do have to say, you have to experience it in person. So be sure to book yourself in for a long and lazy lunch at Fino Seppeltsfield in the Barossa next time you're down that way. It is the perfect spot to experience that level of regional hospitality that we were talking about on today's episode. More conveniently placed, at least for me, is Vino in the city. They do some really interesting and exciting things with local produce. Sharon is also taking part in several events for the upcoming Tasting Australia event, which is in South Australia in May. She is playing host at one of the Dining Gallery's series of events. That will be the Barossa Heroes. She is welcoming along Claudette Zepeda, who is a San Diego-based celebrity chef, Bridget Hafner of Tedesco Osteria, which is in the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria, and of course, her head chef, Daniel Murphy from Fino Seppeltsfield. She's also taking part in the Industry Day, which if you are in the industry is a real must event. Some incredible heavy hitters will be joining her for panel discussions, a beautiful lunch, and lots of conversation around the current state of the industry and what it's like to work in, as well as what we can expect from the future. There will no doubt be some really important insights to take away from that day. Today, we enjoyed a heavenly little laksa from Asian Gourmet there in the Central Markets. That place has stood the test of time for over 30 years. I really do recommend you get down there and gobble up some delicious laksa. Okay, so if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review, rate the podcast, follow along. It makes a huge difference to us here. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, a review on the episode would be amazing. If you're listening on Spotify, I've popped another episode question in there. If you could answer that one, that would really help with our interactions too. So I have been your host, Hannah Pendlebury. My guest today was Sharon Romeo of Fino Seppeltsfield and Fino Vino in the city. The restaurant location was Asian Gourmet in Adelaide Central Markets. Today's video was recorded by Luke Jamieson. Sound and video processing was done by Nick Boundy of Matrix Recording Studio. Our intro and outro music was done by the ever-talented Lobu Music. That's all. That's it. Go forth.